Hello everyone and welcome to the second episode of Spikeshots, where we do our best to make our opponents explode. Now today we are highlighting yet another Simic deck, because when you can play Simic, why would you play anything else? You can play any form of Simic you like. Simic Control, Simic Combo, Simic Midrange, Simic Tempo, even Simic Aggro. Take for example this mono red splash Uro deck, which is a bit of a dark horse in the meta right now, but it's only a matter of time until someone really breaks this archetype. Oh my god, I can't believe how long it's taken to actually cast this. Fuck. But we're going to be rolling with Simic Flash here, a deck which is pretty fun to play so long as Teferi Fun Destroyer is not in play. Simic is the perfect colour combination for people who like playing with cards that are good. That being said, we are playing with some red mana sources here. That's because some players still insist on playing aggressive decks, despite that being a pretty underdog strategy right now. Like, think of the underdog and then think of the dog under that dog. That's aggro right now. So we really have these red spells in the sideboard to remind those players just how invalid their strategy really is. We're playing 7 red sources here. I could add a mountain to let these Fabled Passages find red mana for us, but if I drew that mountain I'd probably want to rip my hair out, and I don't need any more help going bald as it is. You may notice that the deck has a lot of spells that counter other spells in it, and there's actually a very common magic slang that people like to use to refer to these spells, Don Danglers, and the act of countering a spell is known as Don Dangling. The history of this slang is actually quite interesting. Renowned Pro Tour bottom 8 competitor Ronald Perklinski famously brought mono red no ramp to Pro Tour Kyoto in 2009, and finished with an impressive 1-win 8-loss record in day 1. Beating only his arch-rival Eddie Edwards playing Oops No Spells. In a post-tournament interview, Perklinski was quoted as saying, "There were so many fairies decks. They were countering my spells left, right and center. I felt like a puppet dangling on their strings." Since then, he became known as Dangling Don, and counterspells soon gained the nickname Don Danglers. Don Dangling has become a ubiquitous magic slang ever since. I just thought I'd explain that so I don't confuse newer players who don't know much about the game's history. So let's just dive right in, shall we? So our starting hand here is full of Don Danglers, so we can just focus on drawing only threats and we should be okay once we get those. Yeah, found a pretty good spell there. Borrower's pretty nice too. Okay, now I'm going to spin cast this spell. It may seem ridiculous, but it does actually grant a 1 in 89 chance that our opponent's client will crash, so it's well worth doing. Our opponent's trying to resolve their reclamation here. We could Don Dangle it, but it's just as effective to just pick it up off the table and throw it back in their face. The added bonus of this is letting them have a little bit of hope before we snatch it away. We want the Borrower out there to give our Lofty Denials a little more kick, but the opponent has some Don Danglers up their own sleeve. Now there's just no feeling quite like casting Rewind into Ambusher. Pulling off moves like this is how I basically convinced my wife to marry me. Wow, we could actually probably do it again. Now they want to chuck our Wolf off the board, but we have Don Danglers for days here. All the spellcasting does scare away Ambusher's doggy friend though. The opponent could have brought their Blast Zone up to 4 counters to blow up our Ambusher here, but I guess they're not really a fan of animal cruelty. So we send in the pack to give our friend a hug, but they put up a wall of sharks to stop it. This would be enough to send our Ambusher packing, but once we send this other Ambusher out for moral support, the odds are too stacked on our side, and the opponent blows himself up. This matchup is all about the Don Dangling, so we just mix up the ratios a little bit and run it back. This hand is full of cards that Wizards refuses to ban, so it's probably a good keep. Our opponent has a cute little shark, but we want to show them ours is bigger. Don Dangling is the first priority over blocking, so we don't want to use all our mana on removing this little guy. So we'll just cast the shark in step. We keep adding to the board, but the opponent scares our wolf away with a gust of wind. You know, I thought wolves were supposed to be the ones famous for blowing stuff away, but I guess the tables have turned here. We get a Ghost Pirate fresh off the Black Pearl and send the team to keelhaul the opponent. They're pretty low now, so if we just stop them doing anything, we should be able to plant the bomb in no time. They want to play Reclamation, well that's getting Dondangled. Ah, they have a Dondangler of their own. Well, we have one too. Once the stack gets to more than 3 spells, this is what's called a dangle off. Oh no, they have a Dondangler to Dondangle our Dondangler that's Dondangling their Wilderness Reclamation. Well played, opponent. Oh well, I guess we'll just send in the clowns, sharks. Oh, they have a shark of their own. Well, we'll just get this fairy to suplex that out of here, and yep, the bomb has been successfully planted. GG's, opponent. Some people ask me, hey, how do you get the arena experience in real life? Well, it's quite simple really. You just take your cards, lay them on the table, grab your jam, and just spread the jam all over it. Just like that. Make sure to get every corner. There. Now your cards aren't worth anything. Dang, I really messed these up. I think I can salvage them though. I'll just run them under some hot water, chuck them in the dryer. Good as new. Okay, well, we've mistakenly drawn a hand with a few too many lands in it, but I think if we're playing a slower matchup it should be fine. Okay, it's not fine. Our opponent is trying to stomp on our face. Aside from being a bit rude, I want to Dondangle this since they might not have a turn 3 play without Giant. Okay, they still had a turn 3 play. Oh boy, Embercleave already? That snake's trying to grab it. Well, we'll just push him off the board so he drops it. We're just gonna have to make sure they never have creeps for the rest of the game. Pretty simple. Ooh, pre-Combombat Snake. That's gonna come back to bite you, friend. Get it? Snake bite? Yeah. So now we can also make the shark to double block this elf. Questing beasts? No thank you. And ambushers just assembled too many buddies for our opponent to handle, they hit the explodey button. Well, this is where all our red cards come in handy. Lovestruck Beast is also a pretty good bouncer. He used to work nightclubs before becoming a weeping shut-in. This opener has lots of options. We can burn their creeps, or Dondangle them. What more could you ask for? So we'll just show that elf the movie stomped the yard, and they realise they've somewhere else to be. Okay, get ready to be Dondangled, opponent. Oh. Well, alright then. That resolves. So when you're in situations like this, the best advice I can give you is to just accept your fate and get rolled over. Well, we have blockers now. Well, a blocker. Okay, well we're not dying quite yet, so we'll just tick up our zone, cycle this land, instep cleave? Huh, thought they might have tried to do that while attacking. This is what we call in the business a tough situation. These giants ironically aren't quite large enough to stop this onslaught. I think it would be best to start over. Ooh, we actually have to mulligan for once? Well, this one's not great, but as the kids say, Yaku, you always keep Uro. Turn 4 Nissa should give us a good time, and no plays yet from our opponent is also helpful. Oh, well we didn't find the 5th land, that's awkward. We'll try to keep the board as tidy as possible, and the 5th land is a temple, of course. Well, this seems nice of our opponent, letting us trade giants. Embercleave would be a problem, but you know, sometimes you just have to believe they don't have it. Oh, they have it. Well, honestly, all we can do is play out a creep to block. It's not been working for us so far, but I'm sure it'll work for us eventually. Nissa can help with the blocking thing, but honestly our only hope now is if our opponent slips and hits the concede button. The Akron War? Stealing our forest? That's pretty flavorful. Like when Paris stole a tree from the Achaeans, bringing the events of the Iliad. I could blow away the saga, but it's really just delaying the inevitable. Well, Embercleave was a bit of a beating that match. Sometimes you just have to hope they don't have it. Sometimes they don't have it. But sometimes they just have it. Some hard-hitting advice there, write that down. It's a cool card though, I mean, who really cares about blocking anyway?